Hey, fight fans, thanks for joining us and welcome to The Weigh-In, the show where we spotlight the latest MMA bouts and the topics surrounding the sport. I am Dorian, Mr. MMA Hernandez, and with me is Nathan Tyrone.
And today we're going to bring to you a segment we call The Truth About, where we discuss some of the more high-impact topics that are facing the sport today.
One of those high-impact topics is PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs. Since 2002, it's something that's been plaguing the MMA, let alone the UFC, and is now something that's been really addressed by the athletic commissions and the UFC themselves. But to you casual and serious fight fans, more than anything, we want you guys to be a little bit more informed about what PEDs are and what constitutes a PED. So let's start off with, more than anything, what the World Anti-Doping Agency defines as PEDs. It's any substance or method that, one, has the potential to enhance sport performance, two, when it represents an actual or potential health risk to an athlete, and number three, when it violates the spirit of the sport. I myself should think that should be a number one, but I don't think this was done in chronological order as to importance. But more than anything, for you casual and serious fight fans, we want you to also understand all the different things that go into this. PEDs are not just all anabolic steroids and what you see on TV and in the movies. Oh, they're sticking themselves with needles. There's a lot of different things that go into this. And these are even some of the things and topics and categories that are abused by PEDs and by athletes. Most harmful and abused categories: anabolic steroids, obviously, peptide hormones, growth factors, and related substances. These are things like HGH, erythropoietin, insulin, things that are produced by the body naturally but can be reproduced synthetically. You got beta-2 antagonists. These are basically performance-enhancing stimulants, basically like caffeine or things of that nature. Then you've got the masking agents such as epitestosterone, which is usually majorly used in order to make an athlete's testosterone and epitestosterone levels back to even so it doesn't look like he's been juicing. Six is stimulants. Basically, anything that's used to increase focus, energy, and aggression. Most of these things are usually caffeine, amphetamines, and methamphetamines. Then you got seven, narcotics, which are usually mainly used so often to mask the use of steroids. And eight, which I don't know why this is still even on there, but I could pretty much make a devil's advocate argument as to why: cannabinoids, marijuana. This one, you already know. It's been undocumented over and over again. Slowed coordination and reaction time, distorted sense of time and space, and increased heart rate. Now, except for the increased heart rate, how is this a performance-enhancing drug? We're going to touch that on another topic.
I mean, it's fascinating to think that the Nevada State Athletic Commission, if I'm not mistaken, actually classifies THC as a performance enhancer.
What's even worse is that when they detect these things, it's metabolites. Metabolites by definition means that they were already in your fatty tissue. This means that there's no way for you to prove that even at the time that the fighter was fighting that he was high. But when you talk about slowed coordination and reaction time, distorted sense of time and space, how is this anywhere performance enhancing for an MMA fighter? If anything, I think that's a performance dehancer.
And yet still, fighters like the infamous Nick Diaz, excuse me, I don't know about Nate, Nate probably smokes too, but Nick Diaz, time and time again suffers penalties and suspensions and fines for his inability to stop taking or stop smoking the marijuana.
And mind you, even though he has a medical card in California, Nevada doesn't have to respect that or even consider that any way, shape, or form. More than anything, let's be honest, folks. Weed might be become legalized in certain states, but it's not all around one of those acceptable things. It's still one of those on the top number three, if not number four, controlled substances. We cannot have elected commissions all of a sudden putting in their bylaws, yay, it's okay to go out and smoke a blunt. But let's be honest, true. It's not a performance-enhancing drug. If anything, it's a dehancing one. You guys need to work on that.
Yeah, what do you got next?
Okay. Well, more than anything, I also want you guys to understand there's possible health effects. You got to understand a lot of the time when these fighters take these things, immediately we look at them as cheaters. You had low insecurity, no confidence in yourself, or the peer pressure aspect of it all. As of recent, the latest excuse has been, I've trusted the wrong people. But let's not even go into that. More than anything, the things that the fighters are putting themselves at risk. Listen to some of these things: liver disease, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, increased or flared acne on the body. Not that most of these guys are models anyway, but that's a telltale sign. Sexual side effects, why would you even want to have any? Weakening of the immune system,
God.
seizures, nausea, tremors, increased risk of stroke, heart attack, cardiac arrhythmia. That's just 12 things I listed there. Mind you, these guys are on high profile, and I can understand there's a lot of stress and pressure. But why would you subject yourself to something that's so dangerous? And that's one of the things that we need to have addressed in this sport. Not only is a fighter possibly running the risk of hurting another fighter to the point of death, he himself could drop in the cage. And that's not something this sport wants to see in any way, shape, or form, especially if it wants to go mainstream.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We do not want someone dropping in the cage, and that's why some say MMA is one of the safest sports out there in terms of concussion or actual real damage to the body. But given all of the damage that these performance-enhancing drugs can do, and the knowledge that these fighters are prize fighters, these fighters fight for a living and are willing to do almost anything to win, even skirt the rules of NSAC, UFC, WSOF, Bellator, or state commissions. I mean, how, if any way, can we, or rather they, control this type of thing? How can you keep a fighter from finding a new way to win?
Well, and this is a perfect example because now it's getting to the point of a perfect example, Hector Lombard, who just received a year's suspension and a 33% fine on his win bonus and his purse due to coming up for a designer steroid called desomethyltestosterone. Now, mind you, I couldn't give you what the details on the exact side effects are on that, but just to give you an idea, since 2002 to 2014, there have been at least 42 P.E.D. violations, and half of that by fighters Josh Barnett, Tim Sylvia, Nate the Great Marquardt, Vitor Belfort, Stefan Bonner, Sean Shirk, Royce Gracie, folks, the man who helped put MMA on the map. Unfortunately, has a little tarnish on his record too. You got Hermes Franca, Dennis Hallman. Chris Lieben, everybody knows, had a problem with painkillers, right?
Yeah, he was addicted.
Yeah. Even the present new acquisition of UFC's Christiane Cyborg Justino got caught for stanozolol, who she said she got it from a diuretic from somebody in her camp. But the point is that right now, more than anything, MMA has come so far since 1991 and 1993, since Dana White and the Fertittas have taken over. There have been no career-ending injuries. There have been no fatalities of any kind. There have been, more than anything, increased in fighter safety. I mean, how many people do you know get a $55,000 medical insurance policy on their employees, and the employees don't pay not 1 red cent into it?
Better than Obamacare.
More than anything, the UFC is trying their best to show that they want to make this sport mainstream. They wanted to make it safe, and they're doing everything that they possibly can to get all the world-class fighters in there. But more than anything now, they need to focus at home and get this cleaned up. And I think with this in and out of competition drug testing, I do believe that they need to step up the punishments. This 9-year to 1 year, it's still giving guys a little bit cost effect, trade-off. Like, hey, you know what? I can make a $500,000 payoff and have a year off, and I'll still be all right, even if they take 20%. This stuff has got to stop, especially if, like I said, if we want this sport to go mainstream.
Now, I feel the sport is growing rapidly. Now, for you, Mr. MMA, do you feel like it can actually be controlled? A fighter, a competitor, an athlete, they want to win. They want to win, and a lot of times they want to win by any means necessary. How, if any way, outside of these regulations that, with technology comes new ways to get over. Look at Hector with his crazy ass, I don't even know what that drug was, but how can they or anyone really stop a competitor who is hell-bent on altering their metabolism, their physique, their strength levels chemically? How can that be stopped? If it can be stopped.
And to answer that one, it's desoxymethyl testosterone. Say that 3 times, real friend. Let me put it to you straight. For every single letter that was in that, it cost Hector Lombard. In a total, 33% of his fight sports ended up costing him over $70,000. Now, don't get me wrong, that is a very steep penalty, but more than anything, I do agree with you. How are they going to do it? Especially when you find out like superstars like A-Rod was chewing steroid gummies in the dugout when you thought he was chewing bubble gum. I think no matter what, everybody's going to always use their intellectualness and their ingenuity. I mean, sometimes for the right thing, sometimes for the wrong thing. There's always going to be those people that try to find shortcuts. And it's going to be a shame that these fighters are out there that are going to try. But more than anything, let them try, as long as the Nevada State and the California State Athletic Commission and the UFC keep doing this in and out of competition testing. And more than anything, I do agree, they need to step up the punishment. The World Anti-Doping Agency wants 4 years. That could actually kill a man's career. The UFC is suggesting 2 years with a high penalty. I like that. 2 years is a long time to be out of your sport. People can actually forget about you in 2 months, let alone 2 years, considering how fickle this sport can be. I think if they raise that up to 2 years and raise the percentage of what they would take out of the fighters, these guys will think not only twice, they'll think 3 times. You know what? This is not something I'm going to do. I'm going to go in there naturalistic. Let's be honest. Look at Dan Hardy. Dan Hardy is one of the few fighters in the UFC who has gone 0-5 in the cage and has not lost his job. Why? Because every single time that man was in the cage, he was fighting. Even to the point of knockout, he was fighting. And that's what, more than anything, the UFC and the Fertittas and Dana White have shown and respected. As long as you're in that cage and giving it your all, you will be rewarded.
And there you have it. The guy who knows giving you the know. And thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to click subscribe and give us some of your opinions down in the comments section. What do you think about this performance enhancing thing? Is there a way to solve it? Or is it something that the sport has to go with? I happen to agree with Mr. MMA on this one. Hit him in the purse. Okay? Thanks for joining us and see you next time on The Weigh In.